With Liquor Barn, you can shop your favorite bourbon, that perfect bottle of wine, or discover something new. To place an order for pickup or delivery, download the Liquor Barn app, visit liquorbarn.com, or call your nearest Liquor Barn location. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our email list for all the latest news on products, promotions, and events. Liquor Barn, where Kentuckians go to celebrate life. Cheers!
Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight, around the flights of the round table, it's my good friend, Matt.
Hey, Mark, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I was going to introduce my other good friend, but actually, he's actually a guest tonight.
That's right.
He is different.
He is familiar name, familiar voice, but in a different format.
Yeah, this is weird.
Yeah, so before we officially introduce him, I do have to say thank you to all of our sponsors. We appreciate you guys and everything you do for us. And so, hey, Matt, with that said...
Well, Mark, did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Oh, that's right.
We're coming back here, first episode.
That's a good point.
We're recording after Thanksgiving.
I'm just so excited to jump into this, man. Because
no doubt, and we will.
Nobody knows our guests, So
that's right. Nobody knows me.
It's an opportunity to, But yes, I did, Matt. It was fun. Got to go see my family. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I'm from Eastern Kentucky.
Oh.
Yeah. So I went to see my parents, and my brother's family came down from Columbus. So everybody was together. It was nice to do that.
Rough weekend to be from Columbus.
What's that?
Rough weekend to be from Columbus.
Yeah. Fortunately, we were only there Thursday, so I wasn't around because my brother would have probably punched the TV, and it would not have been good. Of course, if you're an Auburn fan, it was much worse for you if you guys saw that Alabama-Auburn game. But that was crazy. It was 4th and 31 or something like that, and Alabama threw a touchdown and won the game.
A lot of people lost some money on bets in Kentucky that week or that game.
Yeah. But Kentucky had a big win. But anyway, we went to Nashville after that to visit Mrs. Bourbon Life's sister and her niece, and then got to go over to Nelson's Greenbrier. Got to go to their new restaurant. Holy crap, dude! I'm telling you, I'm gonna be posting video and pictures.
I know they market the hell out of that place. It looks nice.
Let me tell you, I was blown away by the service, by the atmosphere, and by the food. The quality of the food was just. All four of us were just like completely blown away by how awesome it was. So definitely plan to go back next time I'm in Nashville. We'll go there because, I love the distillery anyway. It's just a fun place to go visit. But man, that restaurant, the food, and everything was reasonably priced. Great drinks, great people. So we had a really good time. So Matt, how was your Thanksgiving, man?
It was good. I spent it in the nation's capital.
Nice.
Yeah, visiting family. Had a good time.
Your sister lived up there, is that right?
Yep.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, we won't talk about Matt winning the half marathon the weekend before, but if you follow Matt on Instagram, because apparently Matt is now on Instagram, I'm not going to give his handle, but Matt is apparently out there on Instagram, and I did see a little birdie made a post about him winning the half marathon last weekend, was it, Matt?
Yeah.
He ran a sub, what was it, Matt? A sub 6 minute full complete half marathon, right?
Holy crap.
Oh, yeah. What was your average, like 5 something?
Just touch under 6.
Yeah, just under. Anyway,
6
so
per
Matt,
mile.
obviously, Matt's keeping all these secrets from us. He never tells us this stuff, and then I see it posted, along with the fact that Matt does have an Instagram account, which we did not know about.
Next, we're going to find out Matt's the one who won the $2 billion lottery.
There are going to be signs. He got a new beanie. So now we know. Matt won the $2 billion, man.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about us. We have a great guest.
We do have a great guest. I'll let you introduce our great guest.
Yeah, our guest this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever it is you all are getting your Bourbon Life podcast, you may recognize his face, his voice, his name, and everything from the crew, but we are bringing him on here in a different capacity this morning, this afternoon, this evening. But we have joining us Chad Watson, and he is best said he's the guy.
The guy.
The guy.
Yeah.
The guy
Yeah,
with
the guy.
rare character whiskey. He's the ops manager, the single barrel manager, the blending manager, warehouse manager, labor manager.
Yeah, he does
Yeah.
everything.
He has boots on the ground for rare character
Actually, I
whiskey.
don't know. I'm on the table right now, but yeah.
And
Yeah.
boots on the barrels and boots everywhere
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
So if people follow you on Instagram, then they see, because you do post pictures while you're down there, the stuff
Yeah.
you're doing. And
Yeah, like
working on. So
I think it's fun to kind of share the inside, so to speak. You know, I mean, like a lot of people don't really know what's going on and kind of wonder what my day to day is like. So I like to post the fun stuff, what my day to day is, because no one really wants to see me like rolling barrels or building boxes or whatever. So that's the fun stuff.
yeah. So, Chad, well, before we get into talking about you, because we always do that. And, you, on the show, we don't really talk about, well, other than me, we don't talk about ourselves. But we'll do that in just a minute. We'll jump into your background and everything. But tell us what you brought, because you did bring us several. Well, you brought a bag full of stuff.
I did bring a bag full of stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
So this right here is our exceptional whiskey. This is a malt, so a Kentucky straight malt whiskey. It's not a single malt. So it is malt and corn aged in new charred oak. So this is a 9-year Kentucky straight malt, aged exclusively in Kentucky and brand new cooperage, and it comes in at almost exactly it's like 135.01.
Okay.
So
when you say Kentucky straight malt, so it's corn and
malt.
just malt, like
Yeah.
enzyme malt added to it. It's not like malted rye or malted
No,
wheat,
it's
or just
malted barley.
Malted
so,
barley.
Yeah,
Okay,
so it's
that's-
predominant malted barley, and then corn makes up about a third of it.
okay.
So
all right.
yeah,
And this was distilled as such. This isn't like a blend of
100%,
single of
right.
malted whiskey and corn whiskey.
right. It was
Okay.
distilled as such as this mash bill. It's very, before you guys dive into it, on the nose you'll pick up a little bit of that malt. You'll pick up a little bit of that earthy, grassy dirt. But when you drink it, it does not drink like what you're accustomed to. Everyone hears malt, they think single malt, Scotch or ASM or Irish whiskeys. It is not that. So it's a very big bowl, especially at these proof points. And we have them, 9-year to 15-year, all different proof points. But there just happened to be one that was an extra that I grabbed because it was missing a label. And
Nice. Yeah. And it's a 135.
135.01.
Nice. Matthew, what do you pick up, man?
Yeah, the nose. I'm glad you explained the mash bill on it, because I would have thought that I was missing something on the nose, because I'm not getting a lot of those like cereal notes. The really
when you think of a
lovely
single malt or
single
when you think
malt.
of something like that. Yeah.
Everything we're kind of starting to learn and love out of the American single malt category. Kind of those big cereal notes, kind of the like sweet oatmeal and kind of like graham cracker pie crust type notes that I always pick up.
Yeah, I agree, Matt. Yeah, that's kind of a surprise. Well, not a surprise, but yeah, I'm glad you explained that. And for our listeners, and for me, because I'm like, I wasn't sure what you meant by that. So.
And a lot of people, like, they'll hear that, they're scared by it. And the biggest thing, like, is it, I've been a fan of the company pre I worked for it, but people always ask me, is the malt worth it? Oh, I think it's always worth it. Yeah. Like, unless someone's charging a ridiculous amount of money, which we have no control over. But if you're not a malt drinker and you're looking to get into malt, or if you're a bourbon drinker and wanting something different, this will take you both paths. So you'll get to experience both realms, and they all kind of come back to the bourbon world, because, it's new charred oak the entire time of its life, in that same barrel. And these are all single barrels, no blends, nothing, no crazy stuff. It's just that high malted barley mash bill with like I said, about a third of corn.
Okay.
And yeah, and just the barrels do the magic. And they're all, I want to say they're all the same barrel cooper. So I think they're all independent stave company, char 3. Don't hold me to that. There might be some other cooperages in those barrels, but I want to say that from 9 to 15 years are all independent stave char 3 barrels. So
Gotcha.
Okay.
So Matt, what were you picking up on it?
Yeah, the grain does come across a little bit. It has kind of the slight cereal grain, not that big, bold, malted grain. The corn plays with some sweetness on it too. There's like a little bit of sugar.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm picking up most is the influence from the barrel. Getting like a lot of dark fruit, like stone fruit, plum, fig, kind of those like really dark red wine characters. I think are really playing in with the berry or
that's
with
kind
the
of funny
barrel.
because it's almost like smells like a finished, like it's been finished in maybe a red wine cask of some form or something. I agree with you, Matt.
And for 135 proof, I'm getting like no burn whatsoever on the nose. I was expecting for it to smell.
I was going to say, I've never taken a sip of it yet, but.
I did take a little sip before we got into it, but the nose, because I'm getting down into the glass.
Yeah, you can get really.
And it's not, singeing this nose hairs at all. So very nice. So, Chad, let's talk about you.
I want to talk about me.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about I.
There you go.
Yeah. What do you want to know, Marcus?
Everything. Tell our listeners everything about who Chad was. Now, talk about your background and talk about what you did, because you had an interesting background that has led you to this point. So, can you talk about what you did and how you started out, and then how you transitioned and actually ended up with Rare Character?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a background in predominantly retail.
Yeah.
So as you guys have known, I work for multiple big box and small box retailers. Pretty much I've done that most of my life since I was about 15. And bourbon's always been kind of a passion of mine, like everyone to a degree. And it really wasn't like something I wanted to make like my personality or kind of like make a hobby back in the day. It used to just be I'd go get my Knob Creek 9-year, and right next to it was like Old Rip 10-year in Moorhead Walmart, where of all places. So
That's great, man. I love it.
My boss would buy, I'd get the $20 Knob Creek 9-year, and Scott, my boss, would get the Old Rip 10. Chad, you need to get this. You need to buy. He's like, I'm like, Scott, twice the price for one more year. Hell no. And eventually, like Knob Creek 9-year and Maker's Mark led me into the bourbon world, like between two contrasting flavors. And then pandemic hits, I leave one job, start working for a retailer that's in the liquor space, a big box retailer. And I would start making all these connections. I mean, that's how we met.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of people through that job, and got to where I am because of that job, and got to meet the people locally and globally.
Was it just through that retailer that you and Mark met?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd followed him on Instagram.
He was a fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
And
Matt, in case you didn't know, it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. He was a fan, just like all 53,000 others.
You know it.
I went to him with my notebook. I was like, "Will you sign this, please?"
He's like, "I got a bottle of your barrel pick. Can you sign this?"
No. No. I don't remember like the conversation how we met.
I don't either, man.
That is how we met, though.
That's how we met. Because the store is only, it's less than 2 minutes from my house, right? So, I mean, I could walk, but I choose to drive. But I could walk over there.
Yeah, and I don't remember what led to that
easily
conversation sparking, but that's literally how we became friends.
Huh. Yeah. He was like the guy a couple of weeks ago when I walked into Liquor Barn, who is a proud sponsor of the Bourbon Life Podcast, by the way. I was standing there at the counter where they have all the bottles, and there was nothing. There are a lot of bottles that cost a lot of money, obviously, because that's where they keep those bottles, right? So these three guys are lined up, and this guy's standing next to me, and I can peripherally, I keep seeing him kind of look, and he kind of looks, and then he turns to me, he's like, "Mr. Rucker, I just wanted to say I really
What?
He did. He was like, "Mr. Rucker, I really enjoy your stuff and what you do. I really appreciate it." I'm like, "Man, it was very kind." I was very humbled but the fact he called me Mr.
Rucker, are you talking to my dad?
I was like, "Damn, dude." Oh, but yes, that's how we did meet that way, man. So, and then develop a friendship.
Yeah.
And then you started writing reviews.
Yeah.
For the website.
Yeah, that's right.
Chad was doing that for a while. We've kind of, with your new position and stuff, kind of backed away from that a little bit. But then
nobody goes to .net websites anyway.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. Man. Whole nother story.
I told him he should offer the .com person like $1,000, and he said no.
Yeah, I know. Too late on that, man. Missed that boat, I'm sure. They're like, "Give me all the money." Anyway,
we see them followers.
So you left there.
Yes.
Yeah. So back to you, Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll backpedal a little bit. So a few years ago, I started my Instagram page. My Daily Bourbon, and started off very plain, basic reviews, like whatever, just whatever I bought, whatever I tried. My idea was I wanted to do a review a day. That was a lot of drinking, a lot of reviews, a lot of time. Hard to do that.
Hence the name My Daily.
Yeah. So then it was just like, well,
365 days of Blanton's.
that is probably my favorite time of year.
That's
though,
awesome
is
when
when
you
I
do
do
that, man. The
that.
month
I
of-
have fun because
Yeah.
it makes people mad. But it quickly turned it into like no one's committed. Like I didn't commit to anyone on reviews a day. It's just post. So
Yeah.
now then it became post, and somehow through that whole ordeal, I can't remember who the first person I was seeing posting rare character. Like I just seen these bottles, and like just to show a bottle. And Matt, you can show a bottle.
Yep.
Sorry, Mark. But just
That's okay.
the wax and the labels and the fact that everyone I've seen had a different picture on it. I was
Yeah.
very intrigued. Just like, what is this? Like this is almost. It's custom to a degree enough to where like everything it's collectible. I've never been like a huge Willet guy. I've never really found that one brand that just kind of like, besides like 1792 back when you could, they had a spread you could always find on the shelf.
Yeah.
There's never really been a brand that kind of like just clicked with me where it's like every bottle's different that you look at visibly and you can see it's different. And then that just kind of stuck me in. And then I was bringing them here and sharing them with you guys.
Yep.
And I don't know, just one day, Pablo Moy, who's my boss and co-owner of Rare Character Whiskey Company, hit me up on Instagram and was like, I would like to send you a couple things. And at that point in time, I was trying to take a step back from reviews and stuff. And I was just kind of like, I appreciate it, you know. I was like, I'm no obligation to me, you know, or no obligation to you. I don't want to make commitment that I'm going to give a review, positive reviews. I don't ask for money. I don't do anything. You can send them. I always take free whiskey.
You should, yeah.
I mean, like no one said no free whiskey.
No, turn it down.
But and he was just like, he's like, just tell me your thoughts, honestly.
Yeah.
And he sent me 3 bottles. One of them I was not supposed to open because it was one of 12 ever in the world. And I opened it. And I took a sample of all 3 of those in my aged Genor to Seattle with me 3 years ago. And 2 years ago, whenever the first time in Seattle was. And drank on those there. And I text him every night and loved it. And then we've been in communication ever since.
Yeah.
And he's always joked, if you ever want to get into the realm of the first tier, because I always joked I was in the 3rd tier. He's like, if you ever want to get in the 1st tier of the system, let me know. Love to work together. And long story short, here we are now.
Yeah. Very cool, man. I mean, it's a very circuitous journey that you've taken, but you got to where, I mean, I can just tell compared to knowing you at the big box liquor store to now, man. I mean, I know you work your ass off, but you're so much happier. And I can just tell that you're just so much more at home. It's like you found your element and you're in it. So, you know, like Philip and Stacy also had some experience in the whiskey world, but that didn't work out quite as well for them. Matt's still waiting on his opportunity to get in there. One of these days your ship's going to come in, my friend. I know it will. So
Thanks, Captain.
I tell you what, I did the tried and true method of like, you need work done, I will do work and you can pay me later.
Yeah.
I literally I literally was just like,
to you
hey,
about that.
I was just like, I want to do this. Like whole heart, like I want this, you know, I want to make it work and I'm willing to show that. And Pablo and Pete, who's also the other co-owner, were both, they were gung-ho because Pablo lives in LA, Pete lives in Las Vegas.
Right.
So it's kind of hard for them to have eyes on this without them traveling to Kentucky. And this was kind of their way. I was like, you guys take a step back. Let me just kind of like get stuff done.
let me be the director of single barrel ops.
Let me just
blending.
Give me a list.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do kind of like slow down on my list and can't get behind, you know, but that's work. But yeah, I'm glad that they gave me the shot and let me come in and do what I do. Cause it's like you said, I can write my own schedule now for the most part, and I'm off most weekends. And, you know, I can pretty much, if you guys, unless I'm traveling for work, if you guys say, hey, you want to do something, I can pretty much do it now. It's the world's different than what I've ever known.
Because I know there were some nights you're like, oh shit, we got to be at the store at 4 a.m. and I gotta wax the floors or
there's plenty of days where we're doing crew episodes.
30 pallets of shit.
Oh yeah, no, there was plenty of crew episodes where it's like, all right, we're leaving at 10. All right, well I got to be up at you know, like 4.
Yeah, big difference. So I'm curious, you know, coming from the retail world, coming from the 3rd tier, going to the 1st tier. I mean, what's been kind of the biggest? Has there been like a big surprise, something that really you didn't anticipate or that has kind of surprised you about how everything works?
That
at that level?
Yeah, most people who think they have an idea of how the three-tier system works really don't.
Yeah.
I thought I knew. Like, I thought I knew it all working in the liquor
You are
retail
pretty
side.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, I'm the best driver. I'm the smartest person. Like,
Oh, man.
I'll say I'm pretty arrogant. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding, dude. I'm just messing with you, man.
It really did shock me what you learn. And it's not, and it's in retail, you blame the second tier. The second tier blames the first tier. But when you're in the first tier, it's literally, it's a whole new world.
Yeah.
And anyone who works on this side of the, I'm not saying like it's a blanket statement, but anyone who works on this side of the industry can tell you the headaches of both sides. I mean, there's retailers who like, oh, I want 20 barrels next year, and then they can only commit, you print labels for them, you get them bottled, and then they only want to buy one.
Yeah.
Or distributors who, I'm trying to buy for a state, and we require X amount of barrels, but you're like, well, we've never done that before, so we want to do this. And then they're like, well, then we won't take your product. So then it's like this balancing game of like, yeah, everyone has to be happy and you can't upset people. I'm a big fan of like, all right, then just go away. Like that's I don't control the money in the company, so my bosses are like, we can't do that.
Yeah, it's like you can't tell people to leave.
You just can't tell people that, and I get it. Like that's just my like coming from retail. Just if someone like annoyed me, it's like, all right, sorry, like I'm done with you. But that's probably one of my most surprising things is just like it does not work the way everyone expects it to. Like probably 50% of people out there have an idea. The other 50% who say that they know it all have no idea.
Yeah.
Like that's what shocked me the most is going through this process and kind of just learning literally like, all right, well, certain states require this or certain states do that. Or then you go through things and now there's a lot of distributors are switching to, if you're a smaller company or smaller brand or you only do so much volume, then you are literally sending them stuff through a thing called LibDib, and LibDib's a whole other mess where basically if you have 15 cases or less, you have to ship it individual cases. So FedEx ships that and you ship, say you have 9 cases of whiskey and you're shipping individual cases, double packed or triple packed, they're FedEx treating it as a box. So then that person who has 9 cases might end up with 6 with 3 broken.
Oh yeah.
So
man.
like it's a whole different ball game. And a lot of these stores who are like, what happened? This is unprofessional. It's like they don't know because they're just, it's showing up on a truck and getting delivered. But there's so many steps that I just never knew about. Just had no idea.
Well, but it's cool you're getting the chance to learn, man. So, and that's awesome. So let's jump back to the whiskey. And Chad, I forgot to ask you on the nose, because you kind of said a few things, but I don't think you ever really gave what you officially pick up on.
No, I agree with the red wine, a lot of red fruit on the nose of this barrel. And I don't remember the barrel name. It didn't have the back tag on it, but it would be EKC-M something. A lot of red fruit. I get a lot of oak. I get a little bit of bread. Like I get a little bit of a wheat bread note, kind of a bakery. A lot of vanilla and cinnamon. It's a very basic profile, like on the nose. But I think with the proof point, the proof might be covering some of that up. So,
Gotcha.
But I think on the palate, it's worlds different.
We'll talk about the palate if you want to, because I mean,
let's dive to Matt. I seen Matt putting a couple drops of water in there. I'm really curious about what some water did to that.
Yeah. So before I put any water in, I will say the proof is there. Definitely 135 proof.
You feel
it. But before on the palate, before I started to feel the proof, like the first thing I got was like dark brown sugar, molasses. And then like immediately right after that, the proof really starts to hit. And it's kind of like that cooling menthol heat type burn on it. But I got like kind of the sweet frosted flake or corn flake note on it as well. Then that cinnamon and the spice came through. But there was just this really, really pleasant right before the heat and the proof came through. Just that like burnt sugar, molasses, the sweetness, and then leading into some of those like corn flakes, frosted flakes, and then like boom, you get that heat and that long cinnamon and super long lingering finish. Just really, really nice. Absolutely gorgeous whiskey.
Yeah, that cinnamon really pops, man. It's like it sits there, Matt. You get that little bit of sweetness, and then you can feel that intensity just growing and growing. And then it's like there's just like this mouthful of cinnamon and like heat. It's really nice though. I enjoy it. It's not melt your face off kind of heat. It's just a nice spice. So
if you took too big of a drink, it would hit you hard. Like, but if you just go into sipping, like had I not said 135 proof and you just took like a big gulp, it'd whip your ass.
Yeah.
But I agree. Like, so you say frosted flakes. I always say like on these 9 years, every vintage, we call them vintages because we do them based on the date. So this would be a 2014. like on 2014s on this vintage, I get a lot. I always said waffle batter, like not necessarily eating, like the smell you get like when you're making waffle batter pancakes. That smell is like the taste I get.
Gotcha.
And I agree with the cinnamon, the brown sugar, and the molasses. But I was curious, did the water bring anything out? Because I didn't think about that.
So with just a couple tiny drops of water in it, more of the cinnamon comes through right up front. That sweetness is still there.
Yeah.
But it almost comes around a little toasty.
Ooh.
Like I think it brings out more of the toast on the barrel.
Nice.
With a touch of that. And almost like caramel corn. I think the corn is also accentuated a little bit by the water. There's almost like a kettle corn, caramel corn note to it. Less of that menthol, that hot heat comes through on the palate, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, the water really does bring out a lot, like the toasted oak. It does bring the cinnamon to the front. I shouldn't drink all that at once.
I was going to say, dude, that was a big swing. Whew.
But to me, it also brings out a lot of tannins. Like I noticed a lot more tannins with some water before, because it is drying.
Yeah.
But it brings, like, you notice those woods, like the toasted kind of notes. So it definitely comes out with some water.
So this is the Exceptional Series, right?
Yes, this is the Exceptional Series. So it's in these.
Are those all are they barrel picks? Are they all single barrels? Is that what you said?
Yeah, they're all single barrels. They're all barrel picks in the sense of, like, sometimes it's by state. So like if a state comes to us and says we want like 3 barrels, then Pablo or myself will pick those barrels for that state.
Okay.
And the way that we do these barrel picks is we don't operate on, like everyone says this, I hate to be cliche, but we don't, like, not good, better, best. It has to be like best, this kind of thing.
Got it.
So if it's going to be exceptional, whether it be bourbon or if we ever do exceptional rye or with these malts, I mean, because there have been a couple of malts where Pablo's tasted them and he's just kind of been like, not yet. Like, I don't care if it has to age for another 10 years, not yet. But when he tries it and he is amazed by it, or if I try it and I'm amazed by it, and that we turn to each other and we're like, oh, that's like, if we both have that moment, or if I have that moment or whatever, then we know it's an exceptional cask, because to us, you're paying a premium price for this product. So these start, I want to say, like, depending on the state, the distributor and the retailer, I think some of these 9 years are going for around about 100, 110.
Okay.
I've seen them a little more expensive, but that's not, that's our SRP should put it around about 100, 110 bucks.
Gotcha.
And I'll say 125, just be safe, 125. But then you get to the 15 year and those are a little more expensive. So those you're pushing around almost $300 because those barrels are so low and they're so old.
Sure.
And we basically just want to make sure that whatever you're getting is worth that money. And with everything we're going to try here tonight, it's kind of going to be like that realm of, it has to be this minimum quality of products. So yeah, we really want to, that's the whole thing. Like, this bottle's technically, it looks black, it's technically green. Like, if you look at the tag from the glass manufacturer, it's actually green. And it's hard to see in there, and you can see a little bit of it if you're like looking at the light in person. I don't know if it'll show on video. But yeah, same thing, we do the wax left side. If you're looking at the front label, wax always to the left side kind of thing, just so we can continue that theme that you see with the single barrel series. But yeah.
So you've done bourbon in those exceptional series.
Yes. So we do have, there was a state pick so we distribute with Heritage here in Kentucky.
Okay.
So we did a exceptional bourbon pick with Heritage. It was a 9-year-old bourbon, and I can't remember, it was either like around 118 or 121 proof. I can't remember which one. I had 2 9 years that I put out onto the market. One was Kentucky, one was like New York. But yes, so there will be exceptional bourbons that are coming out in this. We might do rye.
Okay.
I don't know.
Cool.
I don't think we're ever going to do any finishing on any exceptional. Just we want this to just be like creme de la creme bourbons. Sure. So
that makes sense. Awesome. Well, Matt, what are your final thoughts on this? We're at the end of round 1. What do you think about this Kentucky straight malt? Right.
Kentucky straight malt.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was excellent.
Yeah.
No doubts about that.
I don't know that I've had a Kentucky straight malt.
I've brought it.
Did you bring?
I've brought a bottle once. It's been like a year or so ago.
Okay.
That I purchased, like pre me working for Rare.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we didn't talk on the show. It might have been one of those things where it's like
after the show.
Just
tasting around on it. So, have you had some or?
I don't think I have. I think I've had some higher malt bourbons or whiskeys, but certainly nothing. Where the majority of it is.
Yeah. No, that's really good. That's great. I'm glad you.
Barley.
Happy to get that experience, man, because that's delicious. I mean, that's something I would drink on a regular basis. No doubt about it. Well,
And I think that's what shocks people is most people, before they try it, they're kind of apprehensive because they hear malt.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I seriously, like, the first time I tried it, I had the same thought. I was like, I could drink that all the time.
all the time. At 135 proof.
At 135 proof, hell yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's take a quick break, get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back. I've had too much 135 proof already, man. We'll be back with Chad Watson with a rare character in just a minute. Hey, everybody, it's Mark with the Bourbon Life. And hey, let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Look, I won't lie, I was a bit on the fence about Z-Biotics pre-alcohol initially, but then when Matt and I were hanging out at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, I gave it a shot. And believe me, it's the real deal. Go to zbiotics.com/bourbon to get 15% off your first order when you use bourbon at checkout.
The Stave Restaurant is a bourbon lover's paradise right here in the heart of bourbon country. Located at 5711 McCracken Pike in Millville, Kentucky, between Castle and Key and Woodford Reserve, Chef Kyle Klatka prepares amazing food each day that features an elevated Kentucky-inspired cuisine. With a full-service bar, great bourbon flights, and signature cocktails, the Stave is the perfect place to catch up with friends after a fun-filled day of touring the local distilleries. Be sure to check them out online at thestavekentucky.com or at Instagram and Facebook at The Stave Kentucky.
All right, everybody, welcome back for round 2 of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight, live in the Bourbon Life Studios, is my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing down there at the end of the table?
Mark, at the end of the table, I'm doing great. How about yourself, man? You doing good?
I'm doing great at this end of the table, man.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're having a good time tonight. We got an old trusty with us.
That's right. That's right. We brought in the ringer.
Yeah, man.
At the side of the table.
Yeah, that's right. And it's funny because, you know, usually when we have a guest in the studio, they sit on the my left side, Matt's right side. Mm-hmm. But when we do the crew episode, Chad always sits on my right side, Matt's left side.
We wanted to keep him comfortable.
We wanted to make him comfortable. We didn't want him to be like in the hot spot, man.
I'll be honest, whenever I was walking down the stairs, I was like, oh shit, is the camera pointing that way or that way? Like, I was very worried. Like, am I going to be out of my element here?
I got to be on the right side, man.
I'm going to be looking at new scenery.
I'm going to screw it up. I can't do this.
Can't get distracted.
You like that just gray wall, right? There's nothing.
Yeah.
Should be like 8 shelves there and 500 bourbon bottles. But
he's got the stuff down there, Matt, to build those shelves.
I know. It's been there for
yeah, that's right.
2.5 years.
Aging.
And the shelves are on the back porch and have been there for the same amount of time.
Seasoning. Yeah, they're
seasoning.
Yeah,
yes,
that's right.
Exactly
Toasting.
right. All right, enough about how lackadaisical I am. So, Matt, tell everybody, thank you to all of our sponsors. I do need to say that. We appreciate them for everything they do. With that said, Matt, would you like to tell everybody who, if they haven't figured it out yet, who we have with us tonight?
That's right. Joining us back again, usually see or hear him on, maybe, and hear him.
Yeah, if you watch the show on YouTube.
If you watch our YouTube, you see him on our crew episodes. But he is My Daily Bourbon on Instagram, but we've got him here with Rare Character Whiskey, Chad Watson. Chad, welcome on back.
Well, thanks for having me, and hello.
It's been so long,
I
man.
know.
Yeah. We're going to have to do that. Well, we did the cruise giving just a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So we'll have to do a holiday episode.
Like 6 ribs that night, and
yeah, and then I had leftover ribs the next day. That was
I forgot to take some with me when I left.
Yes, I know. And he was like, "I can't believe nobody took." You know,
I was telling Brittany when I got home. She's like, "What'd you eat?" And she was like, "And I didn't get any." I'm like, "Oh no, I didn't think of that."
Sorry,
you're on your own, girl.
That's right. Mark's got them all. He's taking care of them. So, well, Chad, we're happy to have you here, man. We've talked about doing this before, getting you on and talking with Rare Character. So we got to talk to you about yourself in the first round and how you got into working with Rare Character. So this round, we'll talk more about the brand itself. But before we do that, let's talk about what you brought, because this is, if people can see this on the camera.
Lord, the color.
Yeah, so this is Brook Hill. Excuse the green label. So our labels haven't come in yet. So this has been approved. So if you've seen this on Coming Whiskey on our Instagram or Bourbon News or whoever, because it's been shared a few times, this is our top of the line brand essentially. So this is going to be your highest of the high. So I made a comment in the first round about best, bestest, and bestest. I don't know if I said it right.
Bestest.
Yeah, whatever.
Most bestest.
Extra most bestest. Yeah, this will be that.
Yeah.
So these
Not as bestest, but
yeah.
Go ahead.
So initially, even I thought, because the label says 10 years that everyone's seen, so I'm like, only 10 years, but that's not true. So basically, it's if something that we try is like one of the best of that range, and I can get into that here in a little bit more or later, but like we don't buy, as Rare Character, like we don't just say like, give us 300 barrels. We buy things in small lots. So we are looking for the best of the best of the best of the best in these small lots of stuff, because everything we do is limited runs. And those barrels will be Brook Hill. So Brook Hill is a revived brand, kind of like Fortuna, which we'll get into later. It is an old, dusty, classic vintage label, and it'll be in this bottle, and it'll be a long label, and it looks very reminiscent to the old Brook Hill label. I have foil on top, no wax. So for people who want no wax, so it'll be a foil top, and it will be bourbon and rye. So that will not have any malt in it, but it will be bourbon and rye, and we're going to try and keep it as much Kentucky as possible.
Okay.
But we don't want it to pigeonhole us to it's only Kentucky.
Right.
Because there is some good whiskey out there from other states and from other distilleries and stuff that, yes, I know. And stuff that you just wouldn't imagine would win in blinds. And that's kind of how we do all this stuff. Like literally if Pablo comes into town and we try something, we're going through these barrels, and like he'll serve me something, and we just, or even, and I'll get this later, like Macaulay and I, we'll do the same thing. That's just kind of like, we'll try these, and I'll mark a barrel. All right, that could be Brook Hill.
Yeah.
So this will be that. This will be the, if you're like, wow, on exceptional, this has to be like, holy shit, like that next level.
So, so you can't tell, this is bourbon though, right?
This is bourbon. Yes, okay. This is Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It is 10 years. This particular barrel is 10 years, 1 month old, and it clocks in at 130 proof, like exactly 130 proof.
Okay, and these will all be single barrel.
These will all be single. I'm trying to convince them to do a blend, just so I can kind of spin off some of my favorite barrels together, how they'd work in a blend. But as of right now, they will all be single barrels, pick similar to exceptional, but these will be more exclusive. So this won't be like, you're going to see 20 or 30 of these,
right?
In a state. I don't even know if we're going to do 20 or 30 a year. So this will be one of those like super limited barrels. We're only going to put out the best of the best with this.
Gotcha. Very nice. So Matt, what do you pick up in terms of the nose on this one?
Gosh, the nose on this is, first off, it's delightful, but it doesn't have like too many truly outstanding characteristics, which I think maybe speaks to the quality of it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times when you pick out one note too much or a couple things too much, it's just like not a homogeneous type nose on the aroma. But this to me,
what you're saying is it's very well balanced.
Yeah, perfect. Like this has kind of like a nose reminiscent of something you would see off like the B-Tax series, where like all the flavors, you get like the whole gestalt of the flavors and everything. They just play really well.
Words.
Like nothing comes out. But
I don't know what gestalt means.
Like the whole picture.
I think that's something bad, but we're not going to get into it.
Okay, yeah.
But it has like dark stone fruits. I think barrel influence of kind of like some of those dark cherries, plums. Almost like raisin flavor.
I get almost like a maple syrup type of aroma off of a sweetness that comes through. To me, it's almost like a maple syrup. Or maybe even going towards like a molasses type of.
Like a cherry syrup, like a fruit
there you
syrup.
Go.
The cherry is what I get, like cherries like the big, bold, like cherry syrup. I see the maple syrup.
Maybe a hint of like leather even.
Well, I was going to say to me, like the way it goes is that cherry syrup to like tobacco, kind of like a cherry pipe tobacco, into leather. Like it is a 10-year-old bourbon, and I don't just want to toot my own horn, but I feel like it drinks like a much older bourbon for what it is, and that's kind of why it's a Brook Hill.
On the nose, it kind of reminds me of a little bottle that I got upstairs that has a green label on it. That it's 15 years old. Yeah. That came from someplace in Bardstown. That was like one of my favorite whiskeys from last year. I'm not going to say which one it was. But it's kind of reminiscent.
To me, it has also like a a rising bread, like a rising dough type
I can see
aroma.
that, yeah.
Which, call me crazy, but to me, at first, it almost smelled like rising, like pretzel dough. Almost like sourdough pretzel, kind of like some funky,
sourdough,
sourdough.
I was gonna say, I get like that, not like that dusty brown sugar note on the nose, but I do get like a funky, dusty note, which sourdough. I've heard people say sourdough and cream cheese.
Oh, okay.
I don't get cream cheese, but I do get sourdough.
But sourdough, that makes sense, because it does kind of have that aroma of almost like that sourdoughish. Yeah, no doubt. So Chad, let's talk about the brand. Let's talk about Rare Character. Can you walk us through kind of the history of the brand, how, because it's new, fairly new. Yeah. Right. And it's all over Instagram. Yes. So obviously people.
We are very photogenic for social media.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. It's it has developed quite a cult following as well, especially with a guy that lives out in Vegas that's pretty popular on on Instagram that I got to meet at a judging competition earlier this year. He's all about Rare Character.
Yeah, he wants to have the largest.
That was his goal. He told us, because he's got a large collection of Macallan.
Yeah.
And he said he wants to have like the largest collection of Rare Character as well.
Well, it should be really photogenic. Each barrel, each bottle is like different label.
And that's why, like I said, that's what drew me into the brand. So,
right. But it's all over. I mean, it's like, it's getting that cult type, like old Willet, like the Willet barrels. People go nuts and everybody collects different barrels, and they've got the whole app, you can find valuations on different barrels and stuff. So it's kind of the same, kind of going down that same path almost, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, and especially because, we have different runs. Let me start with our tagline. So Rare Character, our tagline is purveyor of rare whiskeys.
Gotcha.
And like I said a few minutes ago, like, we don't buy things in giant, we don't just say, send us a semi truck or 10 semi trucks of this stuff. We search and find, and I say we, I don't do any of that. But my bosses, they search and they find, and they reach out and they try and find like these limited runs of stuff, like where it's aged, and like like where it ages matters.
Yeah.
Because, so you take like this right here is a Rio. So for those of you who don't know what for the Rios, this is not like Penelope Rio. I don't know why it's called Rio. I don't have anything to do with the naming system except for like 2 or 3 of them. But this is a 21% mash bill distilled in Indiana. And like, so this was aged exclusively in Kentucky, in Frankfurt, in that long historic warehouse that's near Woodford Reserve at that distillery. And the color of it that comes out, like, this is not double barreled, this is not finished, this is the color that this came out in. This 7 or 2 month old Indiana bourbon that's aged in Kentucky. Literally came as new make, got put in that warehouse and spent 7 years there.
That's crazy.
So that's what we look for. And, like our 95.5, Kentucky Straight Ryes, 95.5 Kentucky Straight Rye wasn't really a popular thing. There were brands who were doing it, and, brands like Chicken Cock and all these other brands who were utilizing Kentucky 95.5. But you weren't seeing it like at cask strength, single barrels, or with the age statements. So those were kind of things that Pablo and Pete were really kind of going after. What's unique, what's special, what kind of speaks to them as what sets apart from everyone else.
But you all are not distillers, correct? So you are a non-distilling.
We are an NDP. We contract and we source. So
so a lot like the Rare Character and the purveyor of fine whiskey is really Pablo and Pete, like searching out and seeking out these special limited runs and rare whiskeys. So,
yes, and it's basically just, if someone drops a line of like, hey, so-and-so's got this whiskey, but it was stored in this place, at this place, and it's like, well, that could be unique, so let's try it. And, if it's not saying like, if it's out of the market, we're not going to go for it, but if it's like, if it's different, I don't care if it's 1,000 people have that mash bill or utilizing the same age, but because of where it's aged or the conditions it was stored in, that's kind of why we go the way we go with this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that maturation, the impact. I mean, how different things can be, and that's why I love the
all the impact, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Hardin's Creek series is a perfect,
love the Hardin's Creek series
example of that. The 3 of us tasted that with Tim, or 2 of us with Tim. And he and I chose Frankfurt, and you chose Claremont. Yeah, and Tim's like, it happens all the time. People just choose different ones.
I choose Boston.
Yeah,
that's funny.
I was Frankfurt. So, but yes. So maturation, people don't really. I mean, it sits in a warehouse. Some people that are into it understand it, but a lot of people don't really know that's so huge.
And that's kind of like what drives them, because Pete, I mean, he owns and he has a tequila company, Kashash company, Aquavit company, and RT. Like, so he knows spirits as well, and you know, he can appreciate. And Pablo's biggest thing is like, you know, what sets it apart. I mean, if we, like I said, we could go, we could buy the same stuff that you guys could buy, or from anyone could buy, from a broker, from whoever, from Joe Schmo on the corner. But it's what story is it going to tell, and why is it that way? So that's why we do these limited runs, and we're not buying hundreds of barrels; we're buying tens of barrels.
Right.
Like, I think the biggest run that Rare Character's done since I've been with Rare Character of like a single barrel series. So our single barrel series is just our standard this wax, your custom picture is, I think, 50 barrels. That's the largest run of anything since I've been with Rare Character. Everything else has literally been just like 10s or 20 barrels of something, because that's all there is, or that's either all they're willing to sell. Like that, like if we're going to find it, where we're buying it from, it's just how it is. So
now, when you say runs, you mean they're all bottled, but they're still single barrel? It's not blended.
Yes, no. So when I say run, so like we call them runs. So like our HR7, NIO, RIO. HR, like those are what we call our runs.
Okay.
So those, basically, it's just what what 3 letters are we putting with it?
I got you.
So that's like,
so it could be 20 barrels that are in that run, but it's 20 single barrels.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So like Rio's a run. So that's just because of where it was stored at. And I don't know how many barrels there were that came out of this. But
that makes sense.
But yeah, that's kind of the whole antithesis of Rare Character is, Pablo always jokes like, you see the crack, but are you looking through the crack? Like, if you don't look through it, you're not going to find it, kind of thing. And that's just kind of like how he's built his reputation. And he's been doing single barrel picks since the early 2000s when it wasn't cool, when it wasn't a thing.
Right.
And he owns restaurants and a bar in LA, and I mean, he's world renowned in cocktails and on the bar scene and the restaurant scene. And he used to have a bar in LA called Old Lightning. It was a dusty bar, single barrel bar, and that's just kind of like where he built his following there, and kind of built him as his brand.
I gotcha.
And that's where he started at, and that's just kind of grown into this. And he basically just one day was just like, I just want to throw my money, and hopefully it works.
So he was a fan. I mean, he was.
He's got connections galore. He knows everyone's kids, their baseball schedule. Like, the man literally doesn't sleep. He works all the time, lives off Chipotle and Starbucks. Like,
wow.
When I see him, he only eats Chipotle and drinks Starbucks.
So now, how did he and Pete get together? Do you know how they?
I don't know.
Don't know how they connected. I was wondering how they got together, because he's in Vegas and he's in LA. Right?
Yeah, Pete's in Vegas, Pablo's in LA.
Which, I mean, obviously people travel. So it's only 3 hours away, right? So it's not like.
And it's one of those things where it's like, I've known Pablo for a couple years now, and I've known Pete since I've been with this company, and I've never asked that question.
Never asked the question.
Yeah, it's just
it's
just been one of those things where it's like, it's worked, So I mean, like,
you have to find the answer, and then on the Crew episode in a few weeks, to come back.
I'll give that.
Come back and give us the.
Hey, make a note.
As what's his face used to say, Paul.
You can have
Harvey.
one note.
Yeah.
Crew episodes don't have notes. He
can have this one note.
Yeah, and I didn't make any notes for this show, so we're flying by the seat of our pants. So, because I knew you two would make fun of me if I sat down with Chad as our guest and said, I've got notes. You guys would both be like, what the? Anyway, let's jump back to the whiskey. Matt, what do you pick up on about?
I think for the Crew episode, sorry to go off.
No, that's all right, dude.
But for the Crew episode coming up before Christmas, we should do like the Christmas blind extravaganza.
Okay.
Where like everybody blinds everybody else, and like somebody picks another person's blind lineup or something, or like we number bottles. We each bring 3, and we can talk about this off air.
I'm already confused, but I like where you're headed.
I like it.
Okay, I like where you're headed.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, but back to the nose. As this opens up and it sits in the glass more, are you all picking up a little bit more like coffee and mocha?
I got a ton of chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ton of chocolate.
It's like a ton of chocolate now that it's really started to open up.
I agree, definitely. I hadn't really been nosing it, but I've been sipping it.
Yeah, chocolate or like espresso, like ground, like
Yeah. Go
The
put
palate
put that in my coffee machine in the morning.
You can.
Nice.
Palate is really, really rich and luxurious.
There's that word again.
Kind of similar to the Exceptional series, where the heat comes through on the palate, but before that, those dark fruits, that cherry, plum, the red wine notes really, really come through to me on the palate. Then that heat comes in, the proof point, the cinnamon, the spice on this, some of the corn as well, like nice sweet corn pudding. A lot of influence from the barrel.
Yes.
I think I'm getting with this. There's a good amount of oak. This really does have some of that leather, some of that toffee.
Oh, yeah, that leather. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like a little bit of pipe tobacco, sweet pipe tobacco.
I get almost like a smokiness to it. Not like barrel wood, but it reminded me, I made some orange slices, like I made an orange simple syrup.
Yeah.
And then I took the orange slices and candied them, and then I put them in my smoker for like 20 minutes, just to give them a little bit of a smoked flavor. And that's what it reminds me, not necessarily the orange, but because there's cherry that comes through, but that aftertaste, that smokiness that I had after eating those oranges as the garnish, it kind of reminds me of that, because I get that a little bit of a smokiness off of this. But that leather comes through, the cherry, yeah, definitely drinks like a much older whiskey.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of like I said in the beginning of this round for this bottle, that's kind of like the theme of what we want Brook Hill to be. Like we want it to be, it may say 10 years, but when you drink it, like wow, that's a lot of oak. It's heavy.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to say we don't want to like shock your palate. We don't want it to be too strong, too ethanol forward. But we just want you to know that it is like the best of what these barrels have to offer. Because from this run, as keep that word going, I could have let you try other things that could be exceptional, that were like not quite up to this par. Like this is my highest standard. It has to be this to be Brook Hill. And then there's stuff that might go into future blends later on down the road. It might be single barrel series that were not even remotely close to this. But it also boils down to, like I was saying earlier, of how they choose things based on age, or like aging environment. So that's kind of everyone's secret sauce. It always boils down to something. And I'm a firm believer of every barrel tells a story, and that's kind of like how every single barrel NDP does it. But there's something about some of these barrels that came in this lot of this run that we have that's gonna really kind of amplify, I think, our brand, and it kind of pushed it to the next level.
Yeah. So now, one thing I was gonna say, Matt, you talked about the cinnamon. This one doesn't have that same like punch of spice like the first one did, because the first one was 135, and I really got that that sweetness we talked about at first, and then it, like that spicy cinnamon kind of popped out really fast, and it was really intense. This one to me does not have that same intensity. I don't know. Did you think it's still pretty intense?
It's still pretty intense, but I think you're right. The first one, even at 135 proof, just had like that menthol, almost like that numbing, mint menthol type of heat that came with it. Yeah. This is more flavorful heat.
Yeah, I agree. Just all around, just more flavors. And I was going to ask you a question that I completely forgot. Oh no, the Brook Hill. This one hasn't been released.
This has not been released yet. That's why it's in a janky. This is Chad's handwriting bottle. So like the bourbons will have red foil. The ryes will have green foil. There will be bourbon and rye. Like I said, we aren't going to keep it to a particular age statement. We have an idea of what we want our average age statement to be, which would be around 10 years. But if an 8-year-old barrel speaks to us, or if we've got some crazy good ryes that are younger, then they might go in there. But it has to be like the best of the best. But yeah, so these will be coming, and they will be super limited. So that you're not going to find an entire barrel in the state of Kentucky. You might find several bottles in the state of Kentucky.
Gotcha.
It'll be kind of one of those, because like I said, we're not going to release 20 barrels to a state. We might release 20 barrels total in our first year of doing this, just to kind of one. I mean, of course, you want to brand build, so you kind of want to put it out there, kind of test the waters. But two, it's if every barrel has to hit this certain like threshold of like checking every box 10 times over, we want to make sure they age and they get to that quality. So we're still working on where some Brook Hill barrels are going to go, but yeah, we want to keep it super, super exclusive and super high end.
Yeah, so that'll be any time frame when these are coming out, or
as long as everything goes well, we might have our first barrel bottled before the end of the year, and that's fingers crossed. But that's all based on logistics and just how long it takes to get things labels. I should have talked about this in the first round. You know, you never think about how long it takes to get a label printed.
Yeah.
Especially when every label you do is custom. So that's like 4 to 6 weeks per run.
Wow.
But yeah, so we're fingers crossed. We hope to have our first, the first barrel done or bottled, 100% ready to go before the end of the year. I'm being very optimistic about that. It might be January.
Yeah.
But fingers crossed before the end of the year.
This is absolutely delicious. I absolutely love this one. Love it more than the first one. Definitely.
Yeah.
Matt,
I figured that. Yeah.
this is my jam. Matt, what do you think?
It's absolutely delicious. It really does drink like a lot of highly sought after bottles from other distilleries where it's just a good complete flavor profile from the nose to the palate to the finish. It's all there. It hits on every level. There's nothing out of balance, everything in balance, but at the same time you're able to pick out subtle nuances of it.
That's like, I wish Pablo was here because he would like eat that shit up right now.
Well, hopefully he'll listen to the show.
No, he definitely will. Like, he listens to any criticism, good, bad, or sideways. He has to know like what he's a little naive in that aspect, and he's a little self-centered. But he just has to know.
Yeah.
Like that's how much he cares. Like Pete's the same way, but Pablo like takes stuff like this kind of stuff to heart. He wants those critiques, like good or bad. So yeah, he would love that.
Yeah, very nice. Well, I'm a big fan of this one, man. I can't believe it's only 10 years old. I mean, I just can't. That just does not drink like when I think of a 10-year-old whiskey, like an Eagle Rare or, Russell's Rare 10 years, which are really good.
Yeah, love amazing,
both, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't see a comparison.
Well, to get up to 130 proof, you have to think this barrel, 10-year barrel's been through a bit.
It's been through quite a bit.
As far as the maturation is gone.
So it's seen time in and out of the wood more extensive than other 10-year-olds probably have. So, but it's not tannic. It doesn't dry you out. So yeah, man, very nice. Looking forward to this one coming out. So, guys, let's take a quick break. Get a word from our sponsors. We'll be back with more with Chad with Rare Character in just a minute.
Three Chord's line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The Three Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they call Perfectly Tuned Taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them together. Find out more about the whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.threechordbourbon.com.
From our good friends at The Stave comes Lexington's newest hotspot to meet up with friends, have fun, and eat some great food. District 7 Social is a social and beer hall, but it's a lot more than that. Located in Lexington's Distillery District, it's the home of Lexington's first duck pin bowling lanes, and it also features a self-serve beer wall. That's right, self-serve. And if you want more, they've got it. You can try one of their delicious cocktails from the bar or order some great German fusion food from their on-site eatery, Germanish. So what are you waiting for? Be seen, be social. District 7 Social. All right, everybody, welcome back for the third and sadly final round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here live tonight in the Bourbon Life Studios around the flight of the rectangular table, it is my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing down there?
Oh, Mark, I'm doing so good, man. You doing all right there?
I'm
Mission
doing
control. Everything good?
Doing great over here, man.
Got you good?
Got it all under control over here, man.
Good.
Except for my personality and my attitude. But beyond that, I'm doing great, man. So,
Hey.
do want to thank all our sponsors. Thank you guys for everything you do for us.
That sounds very sarcastic.
No, I didn't. I want to thank all our sponsors because they put up with me, right? They put up with us.
Us.
Yeah. So
Yeah, no
definitely
doubt about that. Thank you all. You are you're patient.
With that said, Matt, would you like to tell everybody if they haven't already figured it out? Right.
Joining us back for the third and, like Mark said, sadly final round this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever it is you get your Bourbon Life fix. Chad Watson, the man, the myth, the legend at Rare Character.
Yeah, Rare
So, he's the manager of pretty much everything, the Sultan of Single Barrel, the Baron of Blending. I don't even know what all else.
Yeah. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll update my LinkedIn now.
So let me ask you a quick question before we talk about what we're drinking on this round. Barrels. You guys have barrels here in Lexington, but you have them other places. too, correct?
Yes. So we have, and I'm terrible at this kind of stuff. So there's like, maybe you should have made notes. We do have barrels stored in a lot of places.
Make fun of me then, yeah.
I'm a guest tonight. This is very not professional.
Come on, you haven't had a guest on us yet, Mark. Don't make this be the first.
We're getting ready to. Chad's out.
Yeah.
Hey, leave your mic though if you. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we have barrels stored everywhere, and it's kind of the old like Heaven Hill like adage of like never, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So like after a lot of distillers kind of learned after the fire at Heaven Hill, you kind of want to store stuff around in case something happens.
Sure. You
have whiskey stored everywhere. So yes, we do, and we contract and we source, as I stated earlier. Whenever Matt asked, we are an NDP, so we do have whiskey, and we bottle with 2 companies. We bottle here in Lexington with Divine Spirits. They have been very, 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 very good to me.
Yeah.
We're also, you guys had Macaulay on for Dark Arts, so
right.
Macaulay and I went from mortal enemies to the best of friends now. We became friends whenever I crapped on a wilderness trail pick that he did.
Oh.
And ever since it's been a running joke, and then here we are 4 years later, and now we are work colleagues in a way.
That's good.
But yeah, Divine Spirits is great with us. They're here in Lexington. They are amazing at their job. Their team's great, and they let me. I mean, they put up with me. So they don't have to let me in there every day, and I thank them for that. But I guess they just like having me around. I don't know. We also bottle with another co-packer in Bloomington, Indiana, and they are also great to me when I'm there, and I can just show up and kind of do what I need to do. But they're 3+ hours away, so I don't make a lot of trips there anymore.
Gotcha.
It's a long drive.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we've got stuff just kind of stored everywhere. So we've got stuff at multiple storing locations. Just because you don't, if something were to happen, you want to make sure that there's still whiskey that you're able to put out to keep the business flowing.
So the 2 we've tasted tonight, the Exceptional Series and the Brook Hill, those can be bottled at either location, or will they just be in here?
So Exceptional has been bottled between both. So the Lexington's bottled bourbon. So Divine's bottled 4 barrels of Exceptional bourbon. So there are 4 barrels out there. Mm-hmm. And then the Bloomington, Indiana co-packer, they've done a lot. They've done a lot of malt for us so far this year. Okay. So they've been very, very good about that. And that's actually where this one was bottled at, was in Bloomington. And Brook Hill will be Lexington. So it'll be bottled here in Lexington. Like I said, hopefully starting sometime within December. But yeah, it'll pretty much everything for that Brook Hill brand will be Lexington. Basically what happened was that we just kind of had to diversify and kind of spread some stuff around. Divine's small. They hold a lot of whiskey for us, but they can't hold it all for us. So we kind of had to find some other people to do so. Sure. And this person in Indiana also besides storing, they were bottling. So that'll both happen. And now we bottle and store there.
Very, very nice. So with that said, thanks for that clarification. No problem. Let's talk about what we have poured up for round 3.
Yes. So this is Fortuna Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. This is batch 4. So I brought batch 1. I think it was batch 1 on the crew episode.
It was batch 1.
And Matthew here said that he wanted to try different versions.
That's right.
Of
This is you. This is your
creation.
This
is me.
Yeah.
This is
well,
me.
I think, and I still have that bottle.
You do?
Yes, I do have that bottle over there. I'm pointing so nobody can see, but there's a barrel over there. There's a bottle. I don't know where the other barrel bottle is.
But yeah, so this is me. And Pablo blended the original Fortuna, the 102 proof, and because he had to, he had to travel here and go, at that time, the facility we were using to bottle. But because I'm here and I'm the guy, the joke that Matt, I'm the guy. I did it, and basically, so this first round went, there's every blend is a different amount of barrels. So there was 19 barrels total for this first round of Fortuna. There's 5 blends.
For 5 blends.
Yes.
5 batches.
For 5 batches, yes. So this is batch 4. This is 118.82 proof. This is a blend of 4 barrels, and I tasted every barrel, and short of trying every combination that was possible between those 19, because that puts you somewhere around like 480 something combinations. I basically I segregated everything by flavor profile and kind of where it landed. And from there, I did tweaking and pinpointing that.
Yep.
So for these 4 barrels, there's, when I initially blended it, I got a lot of underlying like robustness, a lot of oak tobacco. It's not big like flavor, but it feels big on, like, to me, like you get it from front to back to the end of the finish. And it was one of those where I didn't know the proof until I finished my blend, let it marry for a little bit, and then came back, and I thought it drank way higher than the 118.82 proof. So I jokingly told Pablo, I was like, this is big, it's boisterous, I was like, it's got to be like 130. It's got to be like 130. It came in at 119. So.
Nice. So Matt, what do you pick up, man?
That's funny that you said this is like the big boisterous oak and barrel influenced blend, because to me, after I poured this was so floral.
Exactly.
And so
coconut. I get coconut.
Perfume
I can
based.
see a little coconut.
Coconut and floral, honeysuckle.
The honeysuckle is a note I get a lot of, and this was to me like spring orchids, honeysuckle.
I agree.
Like like vanilla icing or frosting, just like sweet notes. Mark, you're saying coconut, like almost like pina colada.
It was very tropical, man. I'm like,
notes on it at first, and then a lot of just the great fruity notes, tropical fruit, like bright apricot, some of almost like tangerine.
Sorry about that, Chad.
No, I mean, no, that's
I'm going to complete opposite. I'm like, yes, floral and light and fruity and
like even still as I'm sitting here, like more of the oranges. And
well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's not like it's on the palate, like the underlying tone of the palate. Like whenever you take a sip, like those, like it felt without being like overcompensating. You got it, but those were, to me, those were like the baseline.
Gotcha.
Like I felt like, wow, this is big. And for some reason, like, you know, I saw it, which I've not had a sip of it yet. I've actually not had a sip since we bottled it that day. I felt like it was just like, wow, this drink's hot.
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, that's got to be 130, and then we're proofing it that day for bottling. After I reproofing it for bottling, and I was like, man, it's still 118. You know.
So what's the thought process behind the Fortuna? Because like the Brook Hill is the best of the bestest best. You know, the outstanding, the exceptional series is, you know, the really high end quality stuff. Fortuna.
So Fortuna is another like revived vintage brand. So the old Glencoe Distillery, which is now the Evan Williams Experience in Louisville, that's the old Glencoe Distillery.
Okay.
This Pablo's big thing is Dusty's and continuing the tradition of that, like those flavors. So getting a little bit of those floral, those coconutty, those funky, those esters, those bready flavors are kind of like where he wants to go. I don't want to speak for him, but that's kind of the idea behind Fortuna. So Fortuna, it goes back to the 1860s, and it's got a lot of heritage behind it, and eventually it just kind of fell to the wayside and became a brand that like no one knew about. So when they brought it back, it really kind of like kicked me into gear as a whiskey fan. I want to learn more about this, and we even had a guy who did a barrel pick with us who brought me a bottle of it was a 5-year bottle bond from distilled in 35, bottled in 1940, a pint. And the only thing we've ever changed with this label, besides this color, is the fact that it says rare character on it.
You're right.
Everything else is the exact same. So we are trying to pay homage to the fact that this is a older brand with a modern twist. Gotcha. So the 102 proof is meant to replicate, Pablo's blended that to replicate older dusty profiles based on vintage releases. Whereas like when I went into this, I was trying to cater to, I don't want an oak blend, I don't want a vanilla blend, I don't want these to be basic blends. I want something to speak to this that still retains some of that vintage quality to it, to where you still are getting some of that, like if you try Fortuna, you're like, and then you find out, oh, this is a vintage brand. It has a little bit of that vintagey feel to it. So this is a blend of, the label says 6 year. Those barrels have now aged another year. So this is a minimum of 7 year Kentucky bourbon, 7 year plus. Every batch is different. I did 5 batches. So this one's batch 4 at 118.82. It's a 4-barrel blend. And like I said, whenever I went into it, the barrels that I chose for it were, and let me pull up my notes, were
now, are these barrels that would otherwise become rare character single barrels?
If they
were up to that
Well, okay. So if they were to be not saying some of these won't move into single barrels, we still have more that could tie to this. And there were others, but basically it's that if nothing worked in a blend and it was great if I was like, man, this is great. Like this it can't be, like, I don't want to blend it. It could be it most likely will be an exceptional in a couple years. Or be a really good single barrel series. So yeah. And there were a few of those where it was just like, man, I can't blend. You know, so you taste them, you're like, I can't blend this. But yeah, we kind of they gave me the leeway to make the decision. So I kind of I used the 19 barrels that I was willing to blend, I should say, for these blends.
So, go ahead.
No,
you go ahead and read your.
Okay, so like the 4 barrels I put into this, the notes I have are fruity, jam, white pepper, floral honey, and caramel maple sugar. So those were the 4 barrel. Like I would do 1 to 2 notes, or 1 to 3 notes per barrel, like what sticks out, and then kind of like group those and kind of see how the blends work. And that's kind of those are the 4 barrels I made for this.
So there's 5 batches, but will Fortuna continue though as?
Yes, so it will continue as a 102 proof, and it will continue as barrel proof. Barrel proof got approved a while back, and people have been asking for it. So instead of continuing the 102 proof, we thought we would just go in and do a barrel proof. I don't know that Pablo and Pete expected me to blend 5 batches. I think they thought I was going to blend all 19 together and just make one giant batch.
Oh, okay.
But when I'm given carte blanche to just do as I please,
you overachiever.
Like on the Bourbon Life Podcast, you have carte blanche.
So when I'm given the opportunity to kind of like build and create, I'm going to build and create. So, I mean, if you compare this to batch 1 over there, I think it's going to be vastly different. Like batch 1 was a blend that's meant to be like the everyman's kind of cask strength. Like it's 121 or 122 proof, but it doesn't drink that way, and it's kind of meant to appeal to everyone. Whereas this one, I think when I went into it, you know, a little fruity, floral, oaky, and some of that spice on the undertone. I kind of want it to be like an enthusiast kind of profile, because this won't be for everyone. Whereas then I have batch 3 that is the oak bomb. Batch 3 was a blend of 3 barrels. 1 barrel had like 7 gallons in it, so intense, rich, maple, heavy, syrupy flavors. So I kind of fine tuned them, but yeah, I brought this tonight just to appease Matt,
because Matt just wanted to taste something different.
Well, I wanted to see what else there was. We had batch 1 on the last one, and it was great. It was just like you said, it's an everyman's barrel strength bourbon, and it hit on a lot of the great notes that we all love. It brought in some characteristics from the oak, some characteristics from the mash bill, some characteristics from the maturation process, some characteristics from the proof.
Yes.
Like nothing was out of balance. You get like very familiar with it. But you, and I know your palate, obviously, and everyone in Kentucky should know your palate because you were voted you won a contest, right?
Second best.
Second best palate in Kentucky. So obviously,
rip that Band-Aid off now. You know?
Sorry, but you know what you're doing. You know how to taste whiskey. You know how to bring a palate and something presentable and something delicious forward. And so I wanted to see what else you could do when you went outside of just like, all right, let's start with a good everyman's barrel strength notes of what we're expecting to get. And then I wanted to see you stretch.
And it kind of, so like when I blended these, I really didn't know like our distribution strategy on that. That's one of those things where it's kind of like, let's get it done. Let's see how it is. Let's see what we produce. So I don't know if it was like every state's kind of get some of each, and you know you're gonna be able to find every blend, every batch, or whatever. But then our distribution strategy is, because some of these blends, like I said, batch 3 was like, you know, there's a super short barrel and a 3 barrel blend. You don't get a lot of yield. Batch 5, same thing, 3 barrel blend, 2 short barrels there. We decided to go the route of we're going to spread all the batches across the United States, you know, where we're at. So there is a little bit of hunting involved in this to kind of, you know, got to kind of chase the unicorn in a way, but it also works because like Kentucky, I was saying Kentucky's got a basic palate, but we put batch one in Kentucky, which I think works because it'll appease to everybody. And then we've kind of fine-tuned our distribution strategy based on flavor profile to what states get what batches or what regions. That kind of works. And a lot of people, I've gotten some great feedback on batch 1, and I'm very happy for that. I've got some negative feedback on batch 1. I'm very happy for that. It's out there. So, but I mean,
Matt. No, I'm just kidding.
No, Matt.
I was kidding. I know. I'm just kidding.
No, but Matt gave positive feedback and constructive feedback. I like that.
There you go.
Had to give negative feedback, I disregard them. But
it's like negative reviews on the podcast.
That's right.
Just, we see them and just
they're there. They don't exist.
Next. Right.
But it became one of those things where like I'm surprised and happy that I was able to do this process because it is my baby. And Pablo calls me every day. Hey, we're launching in this state with Fortuna. Are you nervous? Yes. I am nervous because when these people get it, I am nervous. Will they like it? Will it be their expectations? Because my tasting notes when I blend it versus when things go from being blended to bottled, it's so different after it sits and marries for a little bit to then it gets, pumped through these tubes and these valves and it gets air. And like the way it comes out is always going to be a little bit different.
That's something that Barry Downing from Limestone Farms really hit on. I don't know if you remember Mark and talking about
I was
that.
here.
Well, I didn't know if you remembered it. Oh, you were here? I mean, he and I so much.
I know you guys are like,
I thought you were just here to pour us drinks.
That's about it.
Yeah. But he mentioned that he'll blend and then let stuff sit, aerate in the tub a little bit, go back and taste, blend, see what else needs to happen. And it's like a constantly changing and a constantly evolving process until it finally hits the bottle, at which point it's like, all right, hands are off.
And it can come out completely different. Like there's one batch where, so all these weren't, it wasn't like an overnight thing where it's just like, all right, here it is. It's done. It was hours of every day, multiple days, constant days, leading up to this. And then I went on vacation whenever they were bottling it. And I'm like, I hope it turns out. I hope, my bosses are like, we hope it's good. I'm like, I do too.
You're not the only one.
And,
makes two of us.
And so there's one batch that came out vast. It didn't come out different in a bad way. Like it didn't come out like it was not bad, but it came out a lot of the ethanol that like I perceived on that batch when I blended it was like a frontal note. And when it got bottled, because the aeration going through those pumps and everything, and we're non-chill filtered, everything's non-chill filtered. But it does go through 3 screen filter out char and particulate and that kind of stuff, so you don't get any residual stuff in your bottle. I mean, you might get some micro stuff that we just can't get without chill filtering. But it was one of those where it kind of got rid of the ethanol. I'm like, wow, tasting the finished product after I got back from vacation from New York, I was like, this is not like whenever I blended it, I'm like, I like it, but it's for those who want that punch in the face, and then come back to it, I'm like, it's pretty soft, delicate, and then very like sweet and it's not heavy like I thought it was, but the flavors there just didn't have that essence. So it does change, and it is kind of weird going into it, and it's something I've never would have thought about previous to working for a whiskey brand. So
Matt, what are you picking up on the palate on this one, man?
I think this is positively delightful. The palate is really playful in a lot of ways. It's got like good citrus and fruit right up front. It's what I really pick up. To me, like a lot of orange sherbet. Yeah. In fact, kind of like ice cream type orange, vanilla frosting on it as well. Then the
check my notes.
Then the essence of some of the barrel comes through. Some of that oak, some of the toasty oak, kind of marshmallowy, sweet flavors. Caramel corn finishes. It's not super hot like the first 2 that we had, where you're really, really tasting the proof on it. I think at 118, doesn't drink 118, drinks lower, but certainly lets you know about it.
Yeah.
As I go back, this is really good. I really, really like this batch.
Yeah, good job. I agree.
I win, Matt.
Yeah. What are your official? No, I don't have anything to add to what Matt said. So
no. So I agree. So like taste when I blended it, based on like the fruity, floral, sweet, oaky profile put into it. I taste this now, and I will adjust. But like when you said the vanilla cream note, that was a big note I got. Like when I blended it, that vanilla cream, I really a lot of these dusty brands, because I'm still keeping in mind it is a vintage dusty brand, so I want something to retain that. Vanilla cream was really big. Toffee, fresh biscuit, like a toasted wheat. So a little bit of, like, I know biscuits aren't wheat, but like a toasted wheat presence, like a wheat grain, a little bit of biscuity, nutmeg, butterscotch toffee. And then for my finish, I got heavy cinnamon candy, char, barrel char, butterscotch, sweet undertones, floral, a little praline. And I put a little bit of a Christmas vibe, and I still think that rings true post blend, post bottling. And those are notes that I really kind of never expected, especially with like that praline nuttiness note that I get in there. It kind of like sings home to like a vintage dusty profile. Yeah. Because a lot of things now are just like peanut butter, cashew, almond.
Yeah. That vintage dusty profile, I think a lot of times with vintage, you get sort of that funk.
Yeah.
In terms, and I think the finish that you were talking about, that vintage dusty profile, this has almost like a fruited mulled wine, like fruit cake, kind of like apricot, biscotti type.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Note that you get off like just these weird old like dusty or like old Canadian blended whiskeys that I really love. And this batch right here to me is an absolute hit.
Tells me he did not like batch one.
No. I did like batch one.
This one's a hit as opposed to batch one.
That's so like I actually at the end of my tasting notes when I sent this to Pablo, because he had to know every tasting note from the time I started my blend to end it. I said, compared to every batch I've done right now, I said this will command your respect. I was like, because it is so far removed and so far different of everything I've blended so far. It's so unique. I was like, I will never replicate this again. Yeah. And I don't know that because of the barrel choices, the aging environments, or what, but like when I blend, like there was just something about those four that where I was like, these have to be together to be that profile.
So I can see a lot of bourbon drinkers not liking this, and I think that is a positive for it. Yes. The fact that it's so different, it takes a different route. It's not cherry. It's not as like these oak and caramel. It's different, but if you're not willing to challenge yourself, I think you're missing out on this one.
Well said, Matt. I like that.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, guys, we're at the end of round 3, but before we go, the future, what's going on? I mean, you got obviously a ton of stuff, right? So
a ton. Yeah. So there's no end. Yeah. And it's, it may seem like I'm just climbing barrels and hitting barrels and drilling barrels every day, but that makes for fun content. Reality of it is, we're always working, we're always striving, we're always pushing, and we're always searching. So like we've got some amazing products on the way. I've sampled, I've got indigestion from this high proof whiskey. I've been tasting some amazing whiskey that we are working on putting out here soon, and just going through our portfolio. And it's been wild. It's been the last 8 months, 9 months, whatever, for me have been crazy, and it's been crazy for Rare Character Whiskey Company. And Rare Character Whiskey Company is I mean, every brand's pushing the envelope to a degree, but I feel like the trajectory that we are on right now is kind of like pushing a certain point, and Pablo would say is like, what story does it tell? You know, like I said with Brook Hill, I could serve you 10 barrels from that run, but this one tells a story. You know, as you taste it, it doesn't drink 10 years old. So, and that's where we're at right now, and that's kind of where we're heading. So yeah, we've got a lot on the horizon. We've got, there's brands like Old Cassidy, which you guys didn't try tonight, which I don't have any of with me, but there are more brands on the way, and things like Pride of Anderson County. So, yeah. So there's a lot to be said, and I mean this could be like a 5-hour podcast, but yeah, just keep an eye out, keep looking on Rare Character Whiskey Co., Brook Hill Whiskey, Fortuna Bourbon on Instagram. Thank you to we haven't I didn't even touch on this. We have an entire Facebook group, the RC Clubhouse.
Oh,
It's an
okay.
entire just
Nice.
rare character clubhouse. Just they're devoted to just rare character, and there's apparently there's a second one coming out, or it's already out right now, from some people who are just big fans of our product, and I want to thank them and show them the love, because without people like that who are pushing, then I mean, like, my job wouldn't be here. So
Good
yeah,
point. Yeah. Very
yeah.
nice.
But yeah, it's there's a lot. There's a lot I wish I could say, but right now, like, 2024 will be exciting.
That's
So,
awesome, man.
yeah.
I'm excited for you, Chad. I mean,
no
you're
doubt.
like I said before at the beginning, you're in your element. You're doing what you love, man. So I'm super excited for you. So any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, just thank you guys, Mark and Matthew, for Marcus and Matthew for
Yeah,
having
who's-
me.
That's right, yeah.
And yeah, thank you to all the listeners, all the viewers, all the fans, RC Clubhouse, and everyone on Instagram who shows me love and shows our brand love, and Pablo and Pete for letting me live my dream. Because without them, then
Yeah.
I'd be just another miserable guy working retail. So
Matt, any final thoughts, man, before we get out of here tonight?
Chad, thanks, man. It's been good to connect with you over this, and to, as much as we always love the crew episodes, just to get down and really sit and chat with you more about your past and where you're going, and see your passion in all this. And it's obvious Pablo and Pete see it,
yeah,
or else you wouldn't be in the position you're in. So they're very fortunate to have you. I think you bring a lot to the company, and it definitely shows with what
you
you
hear
brought.
that? guys hear that?
Hopefully you're listening and watching. Yeah.
Yeah. It shows. It shows
Yeah.
with what you've brought us here tonight, and just the passion that you bring to the company, and how loyal you are, and how hard you stand behind it. So thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks,
Appreciate you
Chad.
guys.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it, man. It's been a lot of
Thank
fun.
you. Yeah.
So we always have a great time, like Matt said, obviously doing the crew episode. But it's fun to get see you in this capacity and have you on the show as well, man.
Yeah,
So I'm just,
it's been very hard to be serious and about work, because even my job is, I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, I have a lot of fun. Like, there might be
Sure.
there might be some BS, but at the end of the day, it's like, to me, I live my dream, so it's kind of hard to, like, come here and talk work, but it's like, this is fun. Like, this is my fun time,
Yeah, man.
So
I get it. Well, thanks a lot for doing it, man. We appreciate it. And by the way, this episode will come out Friday, in case you didn't know.
yeah.
But thanks, man. We appreciate it. Matt, thank you, of course. You know,
Yes, thank you, Matt.
You're welcome, Mark.
yeah,
And thank
appreciate
you.
that. Hey, thank you, our listeners.
Well,
Whatever,
we're thanking people.
yeah, whatever time of day it is, morning, noon, or night, whenever it is that you listen to the Bourbon Life Podcast.
Ooh, he took your line.
We appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. We appreciate our sponsors as well. So thank you guys for that.
Thank you.
If you have any questions as our listeners, if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can email us at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. If you feel so inclined, please leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. And with that said, I want to wrap it up. Send us on with our tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full, and may you keep on living the Bourbon Life.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the Bourbon Life.